Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And what I have here are just a few very brief slides. I actually don't have a true demo, but what I'm going to do is take you through what Vormetric does and some of the data security capabilities that we offer. You'll find this is very short and sweet. So just a quick view here in terms of the fact that a lot of times you don't need high-tech solutions to solve problems. A lot of times it's education and training that really is crucial in terms of implementing a proper data security solution, whether it's in the cloud or not. So a little bit about Vormetric. We provide a data security platform that protects information across a wide range of environments. Structured databases, unstructured data in the cloud, and file servers. We've won awards in 2014, SC Magazine Award over in Europe. We also won Best Security and Compliance in Virtualized Environments at the VMworld conference back in August here in up in San Francisco. So one of the nice things about the solution is really the platform approach and the fact that for any large organization that has a heterogeneous environment, you can protect a number of different servers or use cases. So if you've got a big data environment, such as MongoDB, Cloudera, DataStax, you name it, you can protect those databases with this type of solution. If you've got Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, or if you've got information living up in the cloud, you can use a single solution, reducing your total cost of ownership when you apply this type of approach. So not only that, but with our transparent encryption approach, you can implement the solution with really no impact to your databases and applications. So with a lot of traditional encryption technologies, you find there's a lot of heavy lifting. With the solution that we have, you can implement it in a way that we call transparent, because what we do is we install at the operating system level, and as I mentioned a moment ago, your applications and databases don't even know that we're there encrypting data. And also, in addition to encrypting the data, we're enforcing access policies to make sure that only the intended users or processes can actually access data. So through that, we maintain high performance, we preserve SLAs, and we allow organizations, particularly larger ones, to achieve security and compliance needs. So just some of the use cases. We do, in fact, secure some of the world's most valuable information. We have 17 of the Fortune 25 as customers in very large deployments. Some of the use cases we've seen more of recently, in addition to some of the traditional environments like Oracle, DB2, and SQL Server, and so forth, are a lot of these big data environments I mentioned a moment ago, securing information moving to the cloud, whether it be AWS, Rackspace, other types of cloud providers, platform as a service as well. We enable organizations to meet regulatory compliance needs. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we also secure information in what you might call traditional database environments. And we also secure file servers and shares. So just to kind of paint the picture a little bit, we don't really focus on mobile protection, so not laptops, not mobile devices. We're really looking at protecting information that resides in your back-end infrastructure. So just a really quick snapshot of the architecture. If you think about the solution, it is a physical or virtual appliance that deploys into your network or your infrastructure. And then from there, we also deploy agents onto the different servers that you're protecting. So if that server is an EC2 instance living in the cloud, if it is a big data environment that you have on premise running on Linux, or if it's IBM DB2 running on AIX, we can install those agents onto those different types of servers and protect information appropriately. We also provide key management, and just as important, we provide a lot of visibility in terms of who's accessing what data. So if you look on the bottom right, we have Vormetric Security Intelligence, and we've created reports through Splunk, HP ArcSight, IBM QRadar, and so forth, so you can actually get more visualization on the types of access to the data, in particular the most important data within your organization. This is just a really quick snapshot in terms of how we implement our solution. So diving in at a more technical level, we do implement our solution at the file system level, and we basically sit on top of the native file system. And then from there, we intercept data. So if sensitive data is being written to disk, we'll encrypt it first and then write it to disk. If someone's trying to read information from disk, we will only decrypt it if the appropriate authorization policies are allowed. So only if somebody in finance tries to grab that file, or only if that person in finance really did log in as that particular user. So even if a root user comes in and tries to SU over to another account, we'll actually block that and prevent that data from being accessed. A new product that we released earlier this year is what we call volumetric application encryption. And that is, if you think about it going up the application stack, we now also offer encryption libraries so you can encrypt specific fields of data. So if you've got credit card numbers, social security numbers, other specific fields that you want to protect in your Java, Microsoft.NET, any type of environment, using RDS up in AWS, we can protect those fields of information before you write them to the storage effectively. A very important element of our solution is the notion that what we call our DSM, our Data Security Manager, which is really a key and policy manager, that can live either in the cloud or on-premise. So, with many of the cloud provider customers or partners we work with, they may deploy this key management solution in the cloud and they would own it themselves. On the other hand, many of the larger organizations, banks, financial institutions, government agencies, they're insistent that the key management appliance live on-premise in their own infrastructure. So even though they're running workloads in AWS, it's crucial that they actually control the keys that are used to either lock or unlock the data that's being accessed in the cloud. So having that flexibility is incredibly valuable. So it allows for the virtual environments, for these SaaS solutions that are out there, but it also allows for interoperability and, more importantly, for the security that's required by some of the largest banks and government agencies in the world. Another concept or capability feature within our solution is the notion of security management domains, and that's really for multi-tenancy. So if you think about a large bank, being able to create different domains to support different lines of business. So you can say this line of business is isolated to this domain, and these keys and these policies that are created are also isolated to these domains. It's a way of segmenting your security policies. And if you're running a security group within an organization, it's a really nice way to create that separation. Using the example of a cloud service provider, if you're a SaaS provider, you can do the same thing. But rather than thinking about it in terms of lines of business, you can think about it in terms of end customers. So if you've got enterprise customer 1, enterprise customer 2, 3, 4, and so forth, you can really create that segmentation and really separate how the data is protected on a per end customer basis. So a very powerful capability for our SaaS provider customer/partners that we work with. This is a really simple example of how we might enforce policy. The example here is if say I'm protecting Cassandra. If you look at these 3 lines, it almost reads like a firewall rule, where the first line says, okay, only the database binary and the database user running on Linux, for example, can read, write, and will also allow encrypt and decrypt operations. It's basically the standard database process you expect to run. The second line says, hey, for these administrative accounts like root, only allow them to read data, don't let them write because they never need to. Allow them to see the data, audit every single operation they perform, but don't allow them to encrypt and decrypt. So they don't actually see the sensitive data. They'll see meta information, properties of the files that they're managing, so they can do their job, but they can't actually see the sensitive information that's living in Cassandra, as an example. And then here, the third rule that we have just says, and the asterisks really mean apply to everybody, any user, any process, any action, block access, because any other user shouldn't be granted capability, and most importantly, audit that activity as well, because if other users are trying to perform certain operations, that's potentially a red flag. This is an example of our integration with Splunk. So, you get some of the visualization. You can look at user access or user denied access, to certain, we call them guard points, but think of them as secured folders within your infrastructure. So if you double click into that and say, why is this particular user generating so much activity? And this is just a example, but it might read something like user Dirk Snowman imitated this particular user Steve, attempted to read the data which was in this file, and of course was denied access. And because they violated the policy, and the example I gave above is a good example of that. Just kind of a commentary around some of the cloud service providers we've been working with. IBM Cloud Managed Services, Rackspace, Firehose, CenturyLink, Microsoft, AWS. So we're working with many of these cloud providers. So we can either support protecting data in these environments, and these are primarily infrastructure as a service, or in some instances, they've even added it as a security checkbox. So they actually sell security, and in the back end, they essentially enable the volumetric solution on behalf of their end customer. So a lot happening on the cloud service provider front. And then lastly, this slide has a lot going on, so I'm just going to fast forward through this here. But it's really the notion of, as you have data sources moving into these new age big data environments, and then you run analytics on them, there's the ability to protect each of these different data repositories using either volumetric transparent encryption or volumetric application encryption. And I've listed here some of the partners we've been working with across the board, but there's quite a lot in terms of data storage that we can support today. So if you've got a large, complex, heterogeneous environment, we're very well suited for solving that type of problem. And that is all I have. So I appreciate you guys showing up here. And as I said, short and sweet. Thanks.